with Gerald Cheng, warning preparedness meteorologist with Environment and Climate Change Canada, who will provide an overview of current and future weather forecasts in Ontario and Quebec in both official languages, followed by moderated Q&A. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that I'm coming to you this morning from unceded Algonquin territory. A few quick points before we begin. This briefing is for attribution and can be recorded. To be called upon, I ask that reporters change their screen name to include their full name and media outlet. Unidentified participants will not be called upon. If you have a question and are joining via the Zoom app, use the hand raising function to ask a question. And if you have a question and are joining by phone, you may press *9. Once called upon, you may press *6 to unmute yourself. In the interest of time, please keep it to one question, and time permitting, we will do a second round of questions. Bonjour, je m'appelle Brandon Klim et je serai le modérateur de la conférence de presse avec Gerald Cheng, météorologue de sensibilisation aux alertes d'environnement et changement climatique Canada, qui présentera les prévisions météo actuelles et à venir pour le Québec et l'Ontario dans les 2 langues officielles. Suite à sa présentation, M. Cheng répondra à vos questions. J'aimerais d'abord souligner que je me situe aujourd'hui sur le territoire algonquin non cédé. Quelques points à soulever avant de commencer. Premièrement, il sera possible de citer l'intervenant et le point de presse pourra être enregistré. Pour poser une question, nous vous demandons de changer votre pseudonyme pour inscrire votre nom complet et le média que vous représentez. Les participants ayant omis de le faire ne pourront pas poser leurs questions. Si vous participez via Zoom et vous avez une question, veuillez utiliser la fonction « Lever la main ». Et si vous participez par conférence de presse ou par téléphone, veuillez appuyer étoile 9 pour poser une question et pour établir le son, appuyez étoile 6. Avant de poser votre question, veuillez donner votre nom et votre média si vous êtes ici par téléphone. Enfin, veuillez, s'il vous plaît, vous limiter à une question. Si le temps le permet, nous entreprendrons une deuxième ronde de questions. I will now turn the floor over to Gerald. Please go ahead. La parole est à vous.
Thank you. So we'll start this media technical briefing. I will start in English and suivi en français pour la deuxième partie. Next slide, please. So this is the current weather alerts that are in effect right now. And what we have is that you can see there is still a special air quality statement, especially for northeastern Ontario and also for western Quebec. So those places that are still under smoke really from the forest fires. For places in the south, like Montreal, Ottawa, and even for much of southern Ontario, the conditions have improved. And in fact, AQHI is now at an acceptable level or even low at this point. Next slide, please. This is a satellite imagery that we took from this morning, and you can see there's a lot of cloud cover throughout Quebec and even Ontario. And the red triangles are showing you where the wildfires are across the region. And you can see there are lots north of the St. Lawrence and also lots of wildfires in northern Ontario. There's some just near the Ottawa Valley as well, but really it's a lot of wildfires, especially for this time of year. It's not so much now because there's so much cloud cover, but earlier in the week, we were able to see smoke mixed into the clouds, and it was much more visible, but because of the cloud cover, it's now obscured. Next slide, please. So this is two maps. The map on the left, we'll start with that. That is a snapshot of where the smoke will be on Saturday at around 2 p.m. And you can see the smoke over southern Ontario that's shown by the gray, and also the forest fires that are still burning over western or northwestern Quebec. Now, the concentration level that the model is forecasting has really come down. It's only around 5 to 10 or even 10 to 20. In some places, there could be 20 to 40 micrograms per meters cube. So this is a concentration level of the particulate matter 2.5, and that is the pollutant that is coming from the smoke, and that's been blanketing much of the region earlier in the week. We still forecast some of it, but it will be of a lesser concentration level on Saturday. And as we head into Sunday, you can see over on the right, the concentration level sort of remains the same, but now it's moving into southern Quebec. Still a little bit of gray, but farther northwest, there are reds and oranges showing that the very high intensity of concentrations farther north about or north of the St. Lawrence. Next slide, please. This is the rain forecast for the next 5 days, and it was taken from this morning. Basically, we are looking at some showery conditions. So there is a chance of showers from today, Saturday, and even into Sunday. We do have a weather system that is coming on late Sunday that will be affecting Ontario, and then on Monday into Quebec. And that's why you see the blues across Quebec and into Ontario. There are places showing green and also red, showing higher amounts of precipitation. And quantities that could go up to 100 millimeters. But I caution everyone to be too hopeful about the rain because it comes with the risk of thunderstorms. That they could be isolated and they could be overestimated. So with thunderstorms, the precipitation could be very isolated and very spotty and may not be as widespread as what this map suggests. And so this will take us basically for the next 5 days at the amount of precipitation that is expected by our models. Next slide, please. In the past few days, AQHI has been really important to help Canadians make decisions about whether or not they will be experiencing poor air quality. And of course, this information is available on our website and on our app. AQHI takes into account 3 pollutants. The first one, nitrogen dioxide, and that's a pollutant coming from transportation and industries. The second one is ozone, ground level ozone, and ground level ozone is produced by sunlight and also by heat. And the third one, the pollutant that's been concerning us for the past few days is a PM 2.5, particulate matter at 2.5 microns or less. And that is the pollutant that is produced from wildfires. That's the smoke. And it's been contributing to high values, high AQHI values. And that is why we've seen a poor air quality basically for the last few days. And that's really what the AQHI is about, the indication of the different pollutants. Next slide, please. So in summary, scattered showers with the risk of thunderstorms today to Sunday, possible lightning, and that is the case for Ontario and Quebec. Weather system with rain arrives late Sunday for Ontario and Monday for Quebec. Air quality has improved for the south. We're talking about the Golden Horseshoe, southwestern Ontario, the Ottawa, parts of the Ottawa Valley, and also for southern Quebec. But it's still poor in parts of northern Ontario and western Quebec. And unfortunately, this improvement may be temporary because the wildfire season continues. And that concludes the briefing in English. Alors, en français maintenant, le préface technique médiatique. Voici les alertes météo actuelles dans le Québec et en Ontario, et vous pouvez voir le bulletin spécial de la qualité de l'air en vigueur encore dans le nord-est de l'Ontario et dans l'ouest du Québec. Mais ce bulletin est terminé dans le sud et aussi dans le sud de l'Ontario et aussi dans le sud du Québec et dans la vallée de l'Outaouais. La prochaine diapo, merci. Voici l'image satellite qui démontre les nuages qu'on voit de l'espace. Et vous pouvez voir beaucoup de nuages au Québec et aussi en Ontario, dans le sud de l'Ontario. Les feux de forêt indiqués par les triangles rouges partout dans le nord de l'Ontario, mais en particulier concentrés au nord du fleuve Saint-Laurent au Québec. Et vous pouvez voir, ce n'est pas très visible maintenant, mais plus tôt dans cette semaine, vous pouvez voir clairement dans l'image satellite que la fumée a été transportée vers le sud, mais maintenant c'est obscuré par les nuages, couvert par les nuages. La prochaine diapo, merci. Voici deux cartes de notre système de prévision de la fumée des feux de forêt pour le Canada, Firework. Vous pouvez voir dans la carte à gauche la prévision pour samedi après-midi. Le niveau de concentration indiqué, c'est pour les particules fines, 2,5 microns au moins. C'est le polluant produit par les feux de forêt. Et vous pouvez voir dans le sud de l'Ontario quand même, et dans une partie du nord-est de l'Ontario et aussi dans l'ouest du Québec, dans le nord aussi, il y a un peu de la fumée dans ces secteurs, mais le niveau de concentration a vraiment baissé. Dans le nord où se situent les feux de forêt, il y a des rouges, des oranges qui indiquent un haut niveau de concentration juste autour des feux de forêt. Dans la carte à droite, c'est la prévision pour dimanche après-midi, et vous pouvez voir que maintenant, pour le dimanche, il y a un peu de la fumée qui entre dans le sud du Québec, en particulier à Montréal et aussi en Estrie, mais quand même le niveau de concentration 5 à 10 microgrammes par mètre cubique. Ce n'est pas très, très haut, mais malheureusement, au nord du fleuve, une zone des couleurs intenses, des couleurs rouges, qui indique une concentration, un niveau de concentration de ces polluants à 200 microgrammes par mètre cubique. Alors, c'est très, très haut. C'est très, très haut. Et donc, juste pour le secteur autour des feux de forêt, la fumée reste problématique. La prochaine diapo, s'il vous plaît. Voici la carte pour la prévision de pluie par notre modèle météo. Tout d'abord, aujourd'hui, samedi et même dimanche, il y a des averses prévues dans le sud de l'Ontario, dans le nord de l'Ontario et partout au Québec. C'est juste des averses isolées, mais elles viennent avec un risque d'orage. Et avec un risque d'orage, il peut avoir de foudre. Et la possibilité de foudre existe malheureusement, qui pourrait initier de nouveaux feux de forêt. C'est quelque chose à surveiller, mais une dépression arrive en Ontario à la fin de la journée du dimanche, Et entre en Québec, lundi, qui apporte un peu plus de pluie. Et vous pouvez voir que la quantité de pluie jusqu'à jour 5, ça veut dire aujourd'hui, samedi, dimanche, lundi et aussi mardi. En général 10 à 20 millimètres de pluie. Il y a des zones avec des verts de couleur vert et même rose qui indiquent une quantité de pluie jusqu'à 100 millimètres. Mais j'aimerais ajouter que c'est un peu surestimé parce que c'est peut-être il y a des orages. Et s'il y a des orages, la quantité de pluie pourrait être isolée, très intense, mais très isolée. Ce n'est pas pour partout dans cette zone. La prochaine diapo, merci. Enfin, côté santé ou cas, je pense que tout le monde se rend compte de l'importance de ces côtes parce que la côté santé indique la qualité de l'air. Et cette côté santé prend en compte 3 polluants. Tout d'abord, le dioxyde d'azote, c'est un polluant produit par le secteur de transportation et aussi les processus industriels. Le deuxième polluant, c'est l'ozone au sol. C'est un polluant produit par le soleil et aussi le processus chimique quand il y a de la chaleur et le soleil. Le troisième, et finalement, c'est le particule fine de 2,5 microns ou moins. Et c'est le polluant produit par les feux de forêt et qui a envahi partout dans les dernières journées. La prochaine diapo, merci. Alors, le sommaire, des averses avec risque d'orage isolé d'aujourd'hui à dimanche en Ontario et au Québec et la possibilité de foudre. Une dépression avec de la pluie arrive dimanche en fin de journée en Ontario et lundi pour le Québec. La qualité de l'air est bonne ou acceptable dans le sud, mais reste mauvais pour le nord de l'Ontario, une partie du nord-est de l'Ontario et aussi dans l'ouest du Québec. La saison des feux de forêt se poursuit malheureusement. Et ça conclut ma présentation.
Merci beaucoup, Gerald. We will now take questions from the media. A quick reminder that before being called upon, please, I ask that reporters change their screen name to include their full name and media outlet. To pose your question via Zoom, please use the hand-raising function or by phone, press *9. Nous allons maintenant débuter la période de questions avec les médias. J'aimerais vous rappeler qu'afin de poser une question, nous vous demandons de changer votre pseudonyme pour inscrire votre nom au complet et le média que vous représentez. Veuillez utiliser la fonction « Lever la main » si vous avez une question et que vous participez via Zoom ou sur votre téléphone, veuillez appuyer étoile 9. La première question nous provient de Ali Chiasson, CBC News. Please go ahead.
Sorry, here, I think I'm unmuted now.
Yes,
is
you
this
are.
something that we will be dealing with all summer? Are these forest fires somewhat of a new normal, at least for this season?
Well, we have to remember that this is the season of wildfires, and wildfires happen every year. And as long as there are wildfires, they will be producing smoke. And when smoke is produced, then the job of meteorologists at Environment and Climate Change Canada is to monitor where the smoke is going, because that can affect air quality. So for the rest of the season, as long as there are fires, we have to keep track of where the smoke is going because they cause an impact.
Would I be able to ask just a follow-up there? Is it a particularly bad wildfire season this summer so far compared to previous years. It just feels like we haven't dealt with this, no, at least in recent history, of having such smoke here in the Greater Toronto area as well.
Well, in terms of the how much wildfires, that's a better question for Natural Resources Canada, because they keep track of how much forest fires there are across the country. When it comes to air quality, poor air quality, we've seen this especially for northern communities, remote communities, specifically a lot of Indigenous communities affected by smoke because of forest fires every year. It's just that the smoke didn't in the past made its way down to where the population centers are. But this week, because of the weather pattern, much of southern Ontario, southern Quebec was affected. And at least for now, we get some relief. But as long as the fires are burning, there is a chance that the smoke can come back.
Thank you very much. Our next question comes from Wendy Gray, Vista Radio. Please go ahead and unmute yourself. We cannot hear you, Wendy. Still can't hear you. We'll go to the next question and we'll come back, we'll circle back. The next question comes from Randy Toms, 93.1 The Border. Please go ahead.
Hi, Gerald. I wonder if you could elaborate a little bit about the jet stream. I know the jet stream plays a big factor into where the smoke is going. And in northwestern Ontario, there are communities now impacted by smoke. But here in Fort Frances International Falls, no smoke. So can you talk, is the jet stream going to change a lot this summer, or are we kind of stuck in a pattern here where this is going to be a regular thing for, at least for Northern Ontario, it's smoke coming from Alberta?
Right. And that was exactly my point, because for places in southern Ontario and southern Quebec, maybe smoke isn't a very habitual thing, but in northwestern Ontario, we've seen smoke time and time again. Every forest fire season, we have to monitor that. In terms of the jet stream, it really depends on the weather pattern of the day, of the week, where that smoke is going. And so we have to constantly monitor how the atmosphere is behaving. And even if the jet stream is carrying smoke into northwestern Ontario, the next question is it coming down to the ground? And is the concentration level a threat to local residents? So those would be the questions that we look at and examine.
Thank you very much. La prochaine question provient de Daniel Birou, La Presse. La parole est à vous.
Oui, bonjour, vous m'entendez bien?
Oui, monsieur.
Bonjour, monsieur Cheng, Daniel Biru de La Presse. Vous avez présenté le diagramme de la cote air santé avec les différents paliers du numéro 1 à 10. Je n'ai pas trop compris, je ne sais pas si vous l'avez expliqué, je n'ai pas compris en fait le niveau de la cote qu'on est actuellement. Est-ce que vous pouvez me dire à quel niveau est-ce qu'on se trouve au Québec à l'heure actuelle?
Actuellement, c'est à 1 ou 2. J'ai regardé le niveau de concentration des polluants et aussi j'ai regardé la cote avec mes collègues du Québec. Maintenant, au moins, c'est un niveau acceptable ou bon. C'est faible. Malheureusement, le modèle prévoit un retour de la fumée. Alors, le niveau de concentration pourrait monter un peu, je dirais, tard samedi et dimanche. Mais on ne prévoit pas que la qualité de l'air descende au niveau qu'on a vécu il y a quelques jours.
Merci beaucoup. The next question, we'll try to go back to Wendy Gray, Vista Radio. please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hi there, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. We operate radio stations in middle cottage country, northeastern Ontario. And our concern, I think, as a public service is that people will see the 30 to 40% chance of showers and maybe a thunderstorm in some of our markets and decide it's okay to have a fire. Is that enough rain to actually mitigate any fire issues?
Well, it really depends on what's going to develop, how much showers we are going to get. But certainly, I know that the local authorities issuing the bans, the fire bans, they do watch the weather. They do look at the weather information to make those decisions. You know, as meteorologists at Environment and Climate Change Canada, we can only look at the weather because there is enough complexities with that. And in the coming days until Sunday, we're still looking at the chance of showers. So it could happen or it may just not happen at all. So it's not for sure that we'll get rain. However, a system is on the way, in particular Sunday night and into Monday, certainly for the cottage country and central Ontario. So there will be some rain.
Thank you very much. I just want to remind you that we're here with Gerald Cheng, warning preparedness meteorologist with Environment Canada. Nous sommes ici avec Gerald Cheng, météorologue de sensibilisation aux alertes d'environnement et changement climatique Canada. Et nous parlons des prévisions météorologiques en Ontario et au Québec. We are discussing weather forecasts in Ontario and Quebec. The next question comes from Cormac McSweeney, City News. Please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm just hoping if you can expand a little bit on what you said at the end of your opening statement. You warned that you know, any relief we could see over the next number of days may be temporary from wildfire and smoke conditions. So what are you seeing after Sunday, I guess, in terms of weather conditions and what impact that could have on the wildfire situation? I know, you know, when it comes to the number of wildfires we're currently dealing with, that's natural resources, but on your end, you can tell us about the conditions and what they will look like beyond the next several days in terms of, you know, how dry, how bad it could get, how hot it could get.
Well, right now we are seeing a system that's coming late Sunday into Monday for Southern Ontario and Central Ontario. So we do see rain in the forecast. And also because of the system, there will be a southerly flow. So the wind flow is not coming from where the forest fires are, and how, you know, that's how, because of the northerly flow, which is in opposite direction, that's why we got the smoke that we got earlier in the week. With this system, in terms of the rain, it does bring some rain to the south and also parts of central Ontario and also parts of northeastern Ontario. Whether or not that rain, the amount of rain is enough to douse the fires, that remains to be seen. And that certainly is a question for our friends at the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry.
Great, merci beaucoup. La prochaine question nous provient d'Inès Alican de Radio-Canada. Allez-y, la parole est à vous.
Merci beaucoup. Alors moi, ma question, c'est concernant les recommandations pour la population. Est-ce que vous prévoyez peut-être d'autres restrictions, des restrictions supplémentaires?
Je pense que en tant que météorologue, tout ce qu'on peut faire, c'est de prévoir la météo. Alors, c'est la décision de restriction, c'est vraiment à nos partenaires gouvernementaux à faire. La province, en Ontario, le Québec et aussi les autorités municipales. Donc, ce n'est pas à nous à prendre ces décisions.
Merci beaucoup. Je veux juste vous rappeler, les journalistes qui ont la main levée, de s'il vous plaît, identifier de vous identifier par votre nom et votre média, s'il vous plaît, parce que ça va faciliter ma tâche en étant modérateur. Just a reminder, quick reminder to reporters who have their hand up to please identify themselves with their full name and their media outlet in order to be called upon. La prochaine question, next question comes to us from Sanjoy Cheki, and I apologize if I've mispronounced, from the Climate Channel. Please go ahead.
Yeah. I'm Sanjoy Cheki from Toronto. I'm working for Climate Channel, a Toronto-based IP television. My question is, half of the burning are uncontrolled. What is the next? Just already his are Toronto to New York. What is the impact? What will be the impact the uncontrolled burning? It will more bigger.
In terms of the fires themselves, that's really a question for provincial authorities. In Ontario, it's the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry that they respond to the forest fires. And in Quebec, it's the Society of Protection of I would say Société de Protection des Forêts contre le Feu. I don't really know how to translate that. But what we do at Environment and Climate Change Canada is that we provide weather information to the public. So we, in this case, since last weekend, we were looking at smoke and how that impacts air quality. And because of the smoke from the forest fires, that has led to poor air quality in various parts of Ontario and Quebec, and even beyond these two provinces. As to uncontrollable fires, or what they do, that's really beyond my expertise. But as long as the fires are burning, then there will be smoke produced, and that means that we as meteorologists have to monitor where the smoke is going, and that is where we come in, and that is part of our role to monitor air quality.
Thank you very much. La prochaine question provient d'Arnaud Pelletier, TVA Abitibi-Témiscamingue. La parole est à vous.
Oui, bonjour. Avec le réchauffement climatique qu'on connaît actuellement, est-ce qu'on doit s'attendre à ce que des situations ou des conditions favorisant les feux de forêt, ça arrive plus souvent qu'autrement dans les prochaines années, voire d'ici la fin de l'été?
Malheureusement, à cause du changement climatique, le changement climatique contribue à une augmentation de temps significatif, vagues de chaleur, l'intensité et la fréquence augmentent. L'intensité et la fréquence de vagues de chaleur augmentent à cause de changement climatique. Et aussi, le changement climatique change les régimes de précipitation partout au Canada et même dans le monde entier. Et toutes ces raisons augmentent la possibilité des feux de forêt. Et donc, tant qu'il y a des feux de forêt, en tant que météorologue, on doit surveiller la fumée et la mauvaise qualité de l'air associée à la fumée.
Merci beaucoup. The next question comes from Ryan Tumulty, National Post. Please go ahead. La parole est à vous.
Yeah, hi there. I'm wondering if you can give us an indication. I know longer term forecasts are difficult, but is this going to continue, do you believe, to be the kind of dry summer we've seen so far, just because we are at the start of forest fire season? And I'm also wondering, the conditions that allowed the smoke to drift into Toronto and Ottawa and New York City, are they unusual conditions, putting aside the fires? Like it was an unusual pattern that allowed that to happen?
I think there were two questions in there. I'm trying to remember the first, the dry conditions. In terms of this summer, we are looking at, for June, July, August, we are looking at above normal temperatures. That is the seasonal forecast that we've been looking at. In terms of precipitation, though, it's less clear because when we look out too far, in terms of the precipitation outlook, seasonal precipitation outlook, it's highly variable, and there's a lot of uncertainty. And on top of that, when we talk about precipitation in the summer, usually we're talking about showers and thunderstorms. They are isolated and they don't give us widespread rain. So that is the challenge of looking at precipitation for the entire season. Whether or not there will be more forest fires for the entire season, I think that is more of a question for Natural Resources Canada, because they do monitor that, the number of wildfires that are happening across the country. Your second question in regards to the pattern, the weather pattern that's causing the poor air quality in Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, and even down to New York. Weather patterns do change. Sometimes they do come randomly. And it just so happens that there have been forest fires in those particular places in Quebec and in northeastern Ontario. And it just so happens that there was an atmospheric flow that pushed the smoke down to the south where the population centers are. And so when you say, will it happen more often? It really depends on the weather pattern of the day and of the week.
Thank you very much. Just a reminder that we will likely go into a second round of questions once I get to the people that we currently have on the list. Donc, la prochaine question nous provient de Valérie Michaela Bain. Veuillez s'il vous plaît identifier votre média avant de poser votre question.
Oui, bonjour, je suis avec Radio-Canada. Je l'avais pourtant identifié dans mon nom, mais c'est pas de problème. Alors, je voulais savoir pour la suite des choses au-delà de dimanche, à quoi est-ce qu'on peut s'attendre et quel est l'impact, peut-être nous décrire un peu l'importance ou l'impact des vents dans ce qu'on a vu au cours des derniers jours, alors qu'on ne pensait pas nécessairement constater jusqu'à New York, ils allaient ressentir les effets des feux de forêt qui sont complètement dans le nord du Québec.
Alors, dans les derniers jours, la circulation atmosphérique a transporté la fumée vers le sud du Québec, le sud de l'Ontario et même jusqu'à New York, alors au-delà de la frontière internationale. Et donc, c'est vraiment une circulation atmosphérique du nord en sud qui l'ont fait. Alors, dans les jours à venir, au moins, on vous prévoit une baisse de la concentration de la fumée parce qu'il y a des averses, il y a des orages dans les prochains jours et aussi une dépression qui va venir, qui va changer la direction de vent pour le sud du Québec, le sud de l'Ontario.
Okay, thank you. Merci beaucoup. Next question will go to Michelle Both, CBC. Please go ahead. You may be on mute, Michelle. We still can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you. Thanks.
Great. So I just have a question from the London region. And that is the AQHI just jumped back up just minutes ago from low to moderate risk. And the prediction for Saturday is the same. So we're just wondering, looking into next week, what we could expect to see in terms of risk. And if you anticipate that continuing to improve or deteriorate over the next while.
So in terms of conditions for the London area for the next few days, there are showers and that could help. Yes, AQHI has jumped to moderate. However, we still need to look at the specific concentration of PM 2.5, the smoke, and if needed, and if it goes above the threshold, we would issue a special air quality statement. Right now, that is not in effect for the London area. As for the conditions in the coming days, as I've said, there will be showers, so that may help. Those showers can be spotty and isolated, so you may not get one at all in the London area. However, there is a system on the way late Sunday. First, that changes directions, the wind directions from, so the winds will be coming from the south. Secondly, because of the system, it will bring some rain, much needed rain. It's not, maybe it's not enough, but 10 to 20 millimeters is still some rain for the region. So at least there will be some temporary relief in terms of looking at poor air quality. However, the fires are still burning. It's happened. The smoke did come down to the south, to southwestern Ontario. So it can happen again as long as the fires are burning. And if the weather pattern pushes the smoke to where southwestern Ontarians are.
Thank you very much. La prochaine question provient d'Émilie Bergeron. Veuillez s'il vous plaît identifier votre média avant de poser votre question, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, bonjour, j'ai précisé pourtant mon média, j'ai envoyé plusieurs courriels, je l'ai changé dans mon identifiant, peut-être un petit refresh réglerait la question de votre côté, mais ça me fait plaisir de le dire à voix haute. Émilie Bergeron, de la presse canadienne. Monsieur Cheng, vous avez parlé de pluies qui pourraient être surestimées en Ontario et au Québec, des pluies à venir. Je veux juste m'assurer, est-ce que c'est le cas des pluies qui sont attendues lundi du côté de l'Abitibi au Québec? Est-ce que ça pourrait être des pluies dont la quantité est surestimée?
Il reste un peu de temps avant l'arrivée de cette dépression. Donc, la trajectoire, s'il y a des changements de trajectoire et s'il y a des changements avec la dépression, ça pourrait changer la quantité de pluie prévue pour Abitibi. Alors, cela dépend du comportement de ce système météo. Malheureusement, pour Abitibi, très proche des feux de forêt, j'imagine que la Société de protection des forêts contre le feu surveille la situation des feux de forêt, surtout dans le nord, au nord du fleuve Saint-Laurent, parce qu'il y en a beaucoup et c'est vraiment à eux pour à décider ou déterminer si cette quantité de pluie est suffisante pour éteindre les feux.
Merci beaucoup. The next question goes to Nicole Williams, CBC. Please go ahead.
Hi there. I realize this is probably getting a little annoying, but just given that I'm reporting from Ottawa, I'd like you to sort of just specifically speak to the conditions and the air quality sort of readings that we can expect over the coming days.
Well, there is still some smoke in the Ottawa Valley, unfortunately, so we're not completely in the clear, but it's improved significantly, at least, so there is some relief. However, we do expect the AQHI to be at a moderate level, so from 4 to 6. So there are vulnerable people that could still be sensitive to the air quality around the Ottawa Valley. In terms of the smoke, we do see that the smoke, there is still smoke in the region, and of course, even into Saturday and Sunday, but there is a system on the way that could bring some rain, and the rain certainly will help because it washes the air, and also because it will change the wind directions. So those two are key factors in improving the air quality, at least when we look at Monday. However, after that, because there are still wildfires burning not far from Ottawa, this season, it's something that we have to continue to monitor.
Thank you very much. Just a reminder that we're here with Gerald Cheng, the warning preparedness meteorologist with Environment and Climate Change Canada, taking your questions. Nous sommes ici avec Gerald Cheng, météorologue de sensibilisation aux alertes d'environnement et changement climatique Canada. Our next question comes to us from Ruby Pratka, freelance reporter. Please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me? Oh my goodness.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Sorry about that. I'm from the Quebec Chronicle Telegraph in Quebec City, and I've been trying to change my display name for the past 10 or 15 minutes. For whatever reason, I can't. Anyway.
It's no problem. We've got you.
I really appreciate that. So how much rain would be enough, and what kind of rain would be enough to actually make a dent in this situation?
Well, for us, we can only forecast how much rain, and of course, when we are looking at the next few days, it's the showers. So showers are isolated and spotty, and so you may not get one at all where you are or where the fires are, and that is really the challenge for the firefighters. As we head into Monday, there is a system on the way that will be pushing into Quebec. However, as to how much rain is needed to douse the fires completely or help the firefighters, that's more a question for the fire authorities. So in Quebec, it would be la Société de protection des forêts contre le feu.
And
our next question, la prochaine question nous provient de Daniel Biru de la Presse. Allez-y.
Oui, bonjour. J'avais une deuxième question pour vous, en effet, concernant l'aide internationale. Et je voulais savoir un peu qu'est-ce qu'il en était au niveau des autres pays. Je sais qu'il y a déjà un certain nombre de pays qui sont venus au Canada pour contribuer avec l'aide. Je me demandais s'il y avait d'autres pays qui ont manifesté leur intérêt jusqu'à maintenant, qui ont l'intention de venir au Canada au cours des prochains jours pour contribuer à cette aide finalement. Oui.
Bonjour Daniel, je vais juste intervenir. Gérard, c'est un météorologue, donc ce serait sûrement une question pour d'autres autorités fédérales.
Okay.
Mais si vous avez une question spécifique concernant la météo, je vous invite à la poser.
OK, oui, non, moi, c'était pas mal ça. Je pensais que Gérard pouvait répondre à cette question-là, mais sinon,
c'est un peu à l'extérieur de son expertise. Donc, merci beaucoup. La prochaine question, next question, Cormac McSweeney, City News. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about air quality again, and I'll just make this a quick two-parter. First of all, in terms of what we've seen over air quality over the last week, has Environment Canada ever seen this type of poor air quality over such large areas of the country in the past? And I know you've been, and rightfully so, breaking down your air quality forecasts for the days ahead by region and by city, but in general, could you give a summary sort of what we might expect, like for Ontario and Quebec? Is the air quality going to get better over the next few days? Is that sort of what you're saying here, as opposed to, you know, each individual area? I know everybody has to look at their local place to get the information, but generally speaking, are we going to see an improvement over the next few days? If you could give that summary on top of what we've seen over the last week.
I think your first question is about if we've seen as large an area in terms of poor air quality. Well, poor air quality for Southern Ontario, Southern Quebec happens from time to time. However, to this large extent at this level, that's certainly something that's very unusual. However, in terms of geographical size, we've seen this in British Columbia, where all of the interior of British Columbia was covered in smoke before because of the wildfires in out west and also in Alberta. So when it comes to smoke affecting a large area, that has happened before, but smoke affecting major population centers in Canada and in the US, particularly the eastern seaboard, well, that is unusual. In terms of the general air quality for the next few days, I'm assuming that it's for Southern Ontario. So in terms of air quality for the next few days, we do expect that there is still some lingering smoke, that we still expect a moderate level in terms of AQHI. So it will be at moderate even into tomorrow. And maybe even Sunday, because there is some PM 2.5 left in the atmosphere. However, a system is on its way into Southern Ontario late Sunday into Monday, and that changes the wind directions, and also that washes the air, the pollutants in the air. So those two things will help.
Thank you very much. La prochaine question provient d'Arnaud Pelletier, TVA Abitibi-Témiscamingue. La parole est à vous.
Oui, avec les différents feux de forêt, est-ce qu'on sait comment ça peut... est-ce que la fumée et tous les résidus des feux pourraient débalancer le système dans les régions des feux?
J'ai pas vraiment compris votre question. Est-ce que vous pouvez répéter?
Est-ce que les feux peuvent avoir un effet sur la météo des futures semaines? Est-ce que ça va impacter, je ne sais pas moi, les précipitations, les changements de chaleur provoqués par les feux?
Au Québec, il y a quand même des feux, surtout en ouest, près de Abitibi. Et donc, ça dépend s'il y aura suffisamment de pluie pour contrôler les feux, pour aider les pompiers dans la province du Québec. Alors, c'est vraiment une question pour eux. Et c'est vraiment un enjeu à eux à déterminer.
Merci beaucoup. The next question comes from Sanjoy Chaki, Climate Channel. Please go ahead.
I'm Sanjoy Chaki from Climate Channel. Climate Channel is a Toronto-based IP television. My question is now, what is the preparation for Ontario or who live in Toronto for smoke? Just you close the outdoor meetings, outdoor activities. What is the next embargo?
Well, when it comes to poor air quality, what to do, there are recommendations in terms of different levels of AQHI and what people can do, because everybody responds to smoke differently. And the impacts on everyone, especially the health impacts on everybody, they're different according to our consultation with our health partner, Health Canada. And so I would advise people to go to our website or even go on our app. And if you follow the right links, you will get to those recommendations depending on the AQHI level of your local area.
Thank you very much. Before too many people exit the session here, I want to inform reporters that we will be holding, Environment and Climate Change Canada will be holding another session or another media availability tomorrow at the same time. So Saturday, June 10th, 2023 at 11:30. Donc, pour votre information, pour les journalistes, le département tiendra un autre point de presse demain, le samedi 10 juin à 11h30. Donc, il y aura un avis aux médias qui sera publié vers 13h aujourd'hui. Donc, et vous allez pouvoir demander d'autres questions demain. So the next question comes to us from Ryan Tumulty, National Post. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi there. We've been talking quite a bit about Ontario and Quebec. I know there are significant and growing fires in BC as well. I'm wondering if you can tell us if the weather there might give them any aid or help in the coming days.
I think it's important to understand that wildfires affect everybody across the country, or affect all regions. And unfortunately, this is wildfire season, and the fires are burning, and they will continue to do so. And summer is not even here yet, because summer is usually the peak of wildfire season. In terms of the weather, I hasten to add that weather, because of the weather patterns and the changes in the weather patterns, can only bring temporary relief sometimes. And so perhaps we may not get the smoke, but the winds are blowing it to someplace else. So it really depends on the weather pattern. And as long as that there are fires, then we have to worry about the possibility of poor air quality.
Thank you very much. La prochaine question provient de Daniel Biru, La Presse. La parole est à vous.
Excusez-moi, je pense que j'ai accroché le bouton lever la main. J'avais pas de questions, je suis désolé.
Ah, aucun problème, merci beaucoup. La prochaine et la dernière question nous provient d'Inès Alicane, Radio-Canada. La parole est à vous.
Oui, en fait, ma question, c'est sur le risque d'orage. Vous aviez dit tout à l'heure qu'il y a une possibilité de foudre qui pourrait initier de nouveaux feux de forêt. Moi, je voulais savoir si dans la région aussi d'Ottawa-Gatineau, ça pourrait être le cas. Est-ce que c'est préoccupant, ça?
Ça vraiment dépend du développement d'orage et il faut qu'on garde une veille 24/7 de la situation météo. Malheureusement pour la région de l'Ontario et le Québec, le risque d'orage est là. Mais non, on ne prévoit pas que les orages seront violents. Malgré ce fait, il y aura du foudre et ça dépend du foudre et on n'a pas plus de précision que cela.
Merci beaucoup. Donc, encore une fois, avant de conclure le point de presse aujourd'hui, j'aimerais vous informer que Environnement et Changement climatique Canada tiendra un point de presse demain, le samedi 10 juin 2023 à 11h30 pour, encore une fois, parler de la situation avec la météo en Ontario et au Québec. Et un avis aux médias sera publié vers 13h cet après-midi. Just before concluding today's media availability, I want to remind reporters on the line that Environment and Climate Change Canada will hold a media availability tomorrow. That's Saturday, June 10th, 2023 at 11:30, and a media advisory will be published around 1 o'clock this afternoon. Donc, this concludes today's media availability. Thank you very much for joining us. C'est ce qui conclut la conférence de presse d'aujourd'hui. Merci beaucoup.